It was supposed to be a routine stop, a simple misunderstanding. But what happened that day would change everything. Late one evening, in a quiet suburban town, Special Agent Lisa Carter, an off-duty FBI agent, 7 months pregnant, was driving home after a long day. She had spent years serving her country, dedicated to justice, but tonight, justice would turn its back on her. Flashing lights filled her rearview mirror. A patrol car signaled her to pull over. Lisa's heart pounded, not from fear, but frustration. She knew she hadn't done anything wrong. Still, she took a deep breath and pulled over, hands steady on the wheel, ready to cooperate. Officer Karen Mitchell approached, stern, cold, eyes scanning Lisa like she was already guilty of something. The tension in the air was thick. Lisa calmly explained who she was, showing her credentials. But instead of easing up, the officer's expression hardened. "This ID could be fake," Officer Mitchell muttered, gripping her holster. Lisa blinked, stunned. "Fake? Ma'am, I'm a federal agent." But the badge in Lisa's hand wasn't enough. The truth wasn't enough. What happened next was beyond belief. Within moments, Lisa was ordered out of the car. Her protests meant nothing. Handcuffed. Pushed against her own vehicle. She tried to reason, to explain, but Officer Mitchell wasn't listening. The assumptions had already been made. Then came the unthinkable. Lisa, a woman who had sworn to uphold the law, was arrested on the spot. Her baby, her career, her dignity, all at risk for no reason other than one officer's prejudice. But this wasn't the end. Because what happened after? That no one saw coming. Lisa sat in the back of the patrol car, her wrists aching from the tight handcuffs. The cold metal pressed against her skin, but it wasn't just the discomfort that made her uneasy. It was the sheer disbelief of what was happening. How could this be real? How could a trained officer ignore the truth right in front of her? Officer Mitchell sat in the driver's seat, occasionally glancing at Lisa through the rearview mirror. Her expression was unreadable, but there was no sign of regret. Instead, there was something else, a certainty, as if she had already made up her mind about who Lisa was. Lisa tried again. "Officer, I'm pregnant. You don't have to do this." Silence, then a curt response. "Tell it to the judge." The drive to the station felt endless. Every second that passed, Lisa's mind raced with questions. What would happen when they realized their mistake? Would they let her go with an apology? Or would this spiral into something worse? Meanwhile, her FBI colleagues would be looking for her soon. She was supposed to check in hours ago. They would know something was wrong. But would they get to her before this situation escalated? When they finally arrived at the station, Officer Mitchell yanked the door open and pulled Lisa out. A few officers inside glanced over, confused. They had seen arrests before, but something about this one seemed off. Lisa met the eyes of one officer, a younger man who hesitated before speaking. What's the charge?" Mitchell didn't flinch. Fraud. Resisting arrest. Lisa's stomach dropped. This wasn't just a mistake. It was something much worse. And if she didn't find a way to fight back, it could ruin everything. Lisa stood in the middle of the station, her hands still cuffed behind her back, her mind racing. Every instinct told her to stay calm, but the pressure in her chest made it almost impossible to breathe. She could feel her baby shift inside her, a reminder that she wasn't just fighting for herself. Officer Mitchell walked her toward processing without a second glance. The other officers at the station exchanged looks, some confused, some uninterested. No one questioned it, at least not yet. Lisa knew how this worked. Once something was in the system, it took time, too much time, to undo. A voice cut through the tension. "Hey, Karen, what's going on?" Sergeant Daniels, an older officer with years on the force, stepped forward. His gaze flicked between Lisa and Mitchell. There was a sharpness in his eyes, as if he sensed something was off. She was driving with fake credentials, Mitchell said, her tone flat. Claiming to be FBI. Lisa took a slow breath. Because I am FBI. My badge is real. My ID is real. Call my office, and they'll confirm it. Daniel studied her for a moment. Lisa could see it, the hesitation, the uncertainty. He wasn't fully convinced, but he wasn't dismissing her either. Mitchell crossed her arms. We can handle it, Sergeant. Daniels didn't move. Then why does this feel wrong? For the first time since the arrest, a sliver of hope sparked in Lisa's chest. But before she could say another word, another officer called out from the front desk. Sergeant, we just got a call from the FBI. They're asking about a missing agent. Silence fell over the room. Lisa's pulse quickened. The walls were closing in on Mitchell now. But what would she do next? The station felt different now. The moment the FBI was mentioned, the air shifted, heavier, charged with something unspoken. Lisa saw it in the way some officers straightened up, how their glances darted between her and Officer Mitchell. This wasn't just another routine arrest anymore. It was something bigger, and everyone in the room could feel it. Sergeant Daniels narrowed his eyes. The FBI is looking for an agent. He turned toward Lisa. What's your name? Lisa exhaled slowly. Special Agent Lisa Carter. Mitchell scoffed. She's lying. But her voice wasn't as firm as before. Daniels ignored her and motioned to the officer at the desk. Put them on speaker. The line clicked, and a sharp voice filled the room. This is Assistant Director Thomas. We're looking for Special Agent Lisa Carter. She was last seen several hours ago and hasn't reported in. A heavy pause settled over the room. Lisa watched as doubt flickered across Daniels's face. Then he turned toward Mitchell, his jaw tightening. You arrested an FBI agent. Mitchell didn't answer right away. Her fingers tapped against her belt, her posture stiff. She had fake credentials, she insisted, but now it sounded more like a defense than a fact. Lisa's heart pounded. This was it. The moment where everything would either shift in her favor or spiral even further out of control. Daniel stepped forward, his voice lower now. Karen, tell me you ran her badge. Tell me you verified it before you brought her in. Mitchell hesitated. It was the first crack in her certainty. The first sign that she knew this had gone too far. And then, before anyone could say another word, a voice rang out from the entrance. Step away from her. Everyone turned. A group of agents in dark suits had just entered the station. The FBI was here. Lisa's pulse skyrocketed. She was about to be free. Or so she thought. Because what happened next, no one saw coming. The station fell into silence as the FBI agents stepped forward. Their presence was commanding, their expressions unreadable. Lisa felt a wave of relief wash over her, but it was short-lived. Assistant Director Thomas, the man on the phone just moments ago, locked eyes with her. Agent Carter, are you all right? His voice was steady, but there was something else in it. Something Lisa couldn't place. I'm fine, she answered, though her wrists still ached from the handcuffs. But this was a mistake. A serious one. Thomas nodded slightly before shifting his gaze to Sergeant Daniels. Uncuff her. Daniels didn't hesitate. He reached for his key, but before he could unlock the cuffs, Mitchell stepped in. Wait. The room tensed. Mitchell squared her shoulders, her jaw tight. Something's not right here. She turned to Thomas, her tone sharper now. If she's really FBI, why didn't she call for backup? Why would she just sit in a holding cell and wait? Lisa clenched her fists. Because I followed protocol. Unlike you. Mitchell ignored her. Or maybe she didn't call because she didn't want anyone looking too closely at her. She took a slow step back, her eyes darting between Lisa and Thomas. Maybe the real question is, why is the FBI so quick to cover this up? Lisa's stomach twisted. This wasn't just about her anymore. Something was off. Thomas let out a breath, his expression unreadable. "Officer, you've made a mistake." Mitchell shook her head. "No, I don't think I did." Before anyone could react, she reached for her radio. "Dispatch, I need verification on." But she never finished. The power in the station suddenly cut out. The room plunged into darkness. And in that split second, Lisa knew this wasn't just a bad arrest. This was something much bigger. The station was swallowed by darkness. For a moment, no one moved. The only sound was the faint hum of emergency backup systems kicking in, casting eerie red light through the room. Lisa's instincts screamed at her. Something was very, very wrong. Then chaos erupted. A loud crash, a grunt of pain. The sound of bodies shuffling in the dark. Lisa couldn't see who had moved first, but she felt hands on her, yanking her to the side. Someone had grabbed her hard. "Get down," a voice barked. She recognized it instantly. Thomas. Lisa was shoved against the desk, heart hammering as her eyes adjusted to the dim emergency lighting. Shadows moved fast, figures clashing in the flickering red glow. Someone had drawn a weapon. A flashlight clicked on, illuminating Mitchell's face. Her gun raised, her expression locked in determination. "Drop it," Thomas ordered, his own gun trained on her. But Mitchell wasn't looking at Thomas. Her eyes were locked on Lisa. "You don't get it," she hissed, her voice sharp, breathless. "This isn't just about you. They've been watching. They knew you'd be here." Lisa's blood ran cold. Who? Mitchell's jaw clenched, her finger tightening on the trigger. But before she could answer, the station doors burst open. More FBI agents flooded inside, weapons drawn. "Stand down," one of them shouted. For a long second, Mitchell didn't move. Then slowly, she lowered her gun, her gaze never leaving Lisa's. "It's already too late," she whispered. Lisa barely had time to process those words before an agent rushed forward, pulling the cuffs from her wrists. The moment she was free, she turned to Thomas, her voice urgent. "What is she talking about?" Thomas hesitated, just for a second, but it was enough. Because in that instant, Lisa knew. The real threat wasn't Mitchell. It was inside the FBI. Lisa's breath caught in her throat. The weight of Mitchell's words, the hesitation in Thomas's eyes, it all clicked. This wasn't just a mistake. This was bigger than her arrest, bigger than one officer's bias. Something was happening inside the bureau, and she had walked right into it. The agent secured Mitchell, leading her away as she gave Lisa one last look. Less anger now, more something else. A warning. Lisa turned to Thomas. "Tell me the truth." He exhaled, looking around as if measuring who was listening. Then, in a low voice, he said, "Not here." That was all she needed to hear. This wasn't over. An hour later, Lisa sat in a private office at the FBI field office, sipping water, her wrists still sore. Her team had arrived, furious, demanding answers. Calls were being made. Official complaints were being filed, but Lisa barely heard any of it. Her mind was on Mitchell's words, on the shadowy threat that seemed to loom just beneath the surface. Thomas finally sat across from her, his face unreadable. "Your arrest wasn't random," he admitted. "There are people watching, people who don't want you asking questions." Lisa's stomach twisted. "What questions?" A long pause. Then quietly, "We're still figuring that out." It wasn't the answer she wanted, but it was enough to confirm what she already knew. Her fight wasn't over. It was just beginning. She stood up, her body aching, but her resolve stronger than ever. Then I guess I need to start asking. As she walked out of the office, the weight of the night still heavy on her, one thing was clear. She had been targeted for a reason. And whatever that reason was, she wasn't going to stop until she found the truth.